Hello. Well, just for a change, I want to talk about intimacy. And it's so important, this thing called intimacy, which includes sex, but it's definitely not just about sex. So, why are many couples not having very much or any intimacy in their lives? Well, it's all too easy to become disconnected from one another. And that can sometimes be very serious. Couples come to me who are arguing a lot, who are just not feeling like they're in touch with their coupleness, they're not aware of building their relationship together, and they can be in serious trouble. Now, obviously, they've come for help and they need some help. And it's good to recognize that if you've got those problems, you need to sort them out if you want to, if you're motivated. Sometimes, however, if things are, yeah, maybe a bit disconnected, but you're not in crisis, sometimes being intimate can be the way in to rebuilding your relationship. And that may sound a little bit strange because people say, well, how can we get intimate if we're not talking? Well, I'm going to say something about a different kind of intimacy that may actually be very foundational. And if it's there as the way that you do intimacy, then it's really there and it is a foundation for you in all circumstances. So let me first say something about sex, because obviously sex is very much part of intimacy. And often, believe it or not, sex can get in the way of being intimate. Often, sex, this thing called sex, that we think we're supposed to be doing and having every so often, and somebody needs to initiate it. One of you needs to initiate it. And if you're not initiating it, well, then why should I initiate it? Imagine if carrying that all the time, poor old sex, it's given all that power and all that kind of emphasis, but it's not happening. So let's take it out of that structure and give it less power, less intensity, and by building intimacy in this foundational way, I'm absolutely sure you will have more sex in your relationship. So we're talking about intimacy being more of a habit. And actually, it does start with the emotional connection that you have with each other. It starts with talking to each other, sharing. How are you, love? Well, how are you feeling today? Oh, you're looking a bit tired. Tell me what's going on for you. That kind of connection and talking together about deep things that really matter to you. That's the beginning of intimacy, if you like. So let's talk about physical intimacy as well. And what I'd like to suggest is this thing, as I said, called foundational intimacy, which is, it's actually a habit, but a very good habit that you do as a couple as regularly as you can, ideally every night. And, people say, oh, too tired, once I put the kids to bed. But this doesn't require energy. What I'm talking about doesn't require energy. It could be 5 minutes of closeness. So the main thing you do is you go to bed together. Now, I know that's often a bone of contention. Well, she wants to go to bed at 9 o'clock. That's when I get some peace and I go into my office and I deal with emails. Well, okay. Go to bed together, ideally, at 9 o'clock. And if one of you wants to get up and go and deal with your emails after that, fine. Ideally, find a time in the middle, a compromise where you both go to bed together and you go to bed together, because that place is yours. It's away from everything else, away from your phones, away from the TV, hopefully away from kids at some point. And what you do is you just get into bed together and you connect. Ideally, you turn to one another, you put your arms around each other, a bit like a hug, that you would do standing up, but this is a horizontal version. And you bring each other close. And you breathe. Oh, hello there. It's nice to be this close. And the big thing about this is that there's no agenda. You're not thinking, oh, are we going to get to sex? I hope we get to sex. No, you're not doing that. You're simply being together and connecting and letting the flow flow. And you might find yourselves giggling, laughing, playing. You might tell each other funny little stories. You might just be chatting. But let it be something that feels close and enjoyable. And as I said, no agenda for going anywhere. And sometimes you might pause and breathe and look at each other. And one of you might just start to stroke the other one's face. Oh, this is so lovely, stroking. And you might let stroking go down the arms, breasts, chest, back. You might find this really lovely and sensual. And you might get your bodies in a more intimate position, and it might become very sensual. And you keep on breathing and connecting. And again, let go of agenda and let the flow flow. And the chances are that sometimes it may become sexual. And that is a way of enabling sex to just flow in naturally. So this may be a very different way of getting sexual. It may be a very different way of being intimate, but it could be the thing that really saves your relationship, your intimacy, and your love.